This is the Hall Institute's Forum. My name is Michael Riccards, and we're looking at the issue today of deafness. Lori, you sent me a kind of interesting letter, which had some statistics in that I found kind of remarkable and a little bit frightening, I guess, of the facts concerning hearing loss. Hearing loss is the most prevalent sensory loss in the United States. We're losing more and more of our elder population to an unfamiliar world without sound. 1 in 1,000 babies is born profoundly deaf, and another 2 out of 1,000 with hearing loss. That's 2 million children. And almost every retirement age adult is experiencing a varying degree of hearing loss, which will continue later, especially in life to those who have been exposed to occupational noise, including musicians, contractors, and U.S. veterans. It's over 30 million people. These are phenomenal numbers. And what do they tell you? Have we really not spent enough time looking at this issue? Are we not prepared for these people that are coming down the road or already in our lives?
No, I think it goes back to what we had addressed earlier, that the government really has to step up to the plate because Americans are living longer. And you had just given me an interesting number that half of the people that are experiencing loss are over 80 years old. And as Americans live to be over 100 now, and they're not being compensated for the hearing aids, a lot of people won't be buying them. Where's the quality of life?
Is the situation, Doctor, outside the United States similar to what we hear in the USA?
It is very similar. I mean, I think one of the things that I really want to point out is this problem affects the young, the middle-aged, and the elderly. And by the time you're 80, half of them have hearing loss that requires amplification. And so awareness is very important. And this problem is not particularly unique to the United States. It's all over the world. And maybe we're slightly better off because we look at how much noise is in our occupation. If you work at a place that has a lot of noise, there are regulations that prevent chronic exposure.
How about for those of us that grew up on Elvis? We're especially prone to problems with rock and roll?
Absolutely. I think, as Lori mentioned earlier, the baby boomers are going to be so affected by ringing in the ears, not being able to hear well, not understanding what people are saying. If you go to a restaurant in New York, you already can't understand what your conversation is all about.
That's true.
And if you're a baby boomer and on top of that you have noise exposure due to the Walkman or the iPod, you're not going to understand. You're going to shake your head, you're going to laugh at a joke you never heard, and probably inappropriately, which is the most embarrassing situation.
What the ringing in the ear, was that tinnitus?
Tinnitus or tinnitus.
What is the origin of that?
It's a sign of
Show us
damage
on your ear.
Well,
is it the loss of the?
It's the hair cells. It's the hair cells inside the cochlea. Imagine that those hair cells have now been abused by loud music. In your case, Elvis. Maybe in my case, Elton John or something. You know. Those hair cells have a certain limited lifespan. And if they've been abused by a lot of loud noise, now they're not working as well. So what they're doing is they're moving their little hairs when there is no signal or sound in the environment. And when that goes to your brain, it thinks there's sound out here, but there isn't. And that's what tinnitus is. Is it often an early sign or it occurs with hearing loss?
Now, you're not only a surgeon, but you're also a researcher in the area.
Yes.
What do you see happening in the next 5-10 years in your specialty?
I think what I hope happens is, number one, what Lori would like to see happen is all of us becoming aware of our hearing as a sense and how precious it is and how easy it is to lose it. And there's so many things we can do, preventative things. In addition to wearing earphones when you're in the subway or an occupational area, I think one of the things we'll see is nutritional supplements. That is, our diet will make a big difference down the road. I think we'll identify those. We're going to better understand the genetic causes of hearing loss and better able to diagnose the kind of hearing loss and specific therapy. And finally, I think stem cell therapy or gene therapy, molecular therapies, and this kind of a catch-all phrase, will become available to some types of hearing losses. But I think prevention is the number one thing that we should do.
What type of vitamins, deficiencies, I assume, are responsible for some hearing loss?
Well, it's not so much specific vitamins. People are when you're exposed to noises, loud noises, you go to a concert, their oxygen is consumed by our cells in the ear, and they have toxic metabolites, much like garbage that we throw out in a can. Well, that's garbage in our ear can lead to damage. And there are nutritional supplements that theoretically can prevent the damage, the collection of this garbage in the ear. And I think as we understand more of how we can do that, it'll become part of our everyday behavior, everyday consumption.
What about babies? Those that are born prematurely, are they more likely to have hearing problems?
Yes, premature babies are it's a big risk factor. In the past, we only used to screen babies that were had a high risk for hearing loss, like a premature baby. Now we screen every child that is born. One of the big policy issues, I think, for the next 15 to 20 years is a focus on follow-through. It isn't enough to identify it. You have to get the early intervention in place, whether it's speech therapy, language therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy, hearing aids, and more importantly, start a database so that we can follow them to make sure that they're getting everything they need. I think this is going to be a major policy issue.
How did NYU get involved in this particular research area?
Well, NYU has one of its major strengths is in the area of auditory neuroscience, that is, hearing and the science of hearing. So it's a very accomplished, not only in research, but clinical areas. One of the largest cochlear implant programs in the world. Some of the very famous scientists are there studying hearing, genetics of hearing. We're looking at new technology, whether it's hearing aids or for tinnitus. And it's the accumulation of really very smart people in one institution that makes that possible.
Which is how you build a great research capability anywhere.
Exactly.
I think all of us are really indebted to you and to you, Laurie, who've given us the type of support necessary to really look at an area that's going to become increasingly important. And I hope today, by us just exploring it a little bit on the Hall Institute forum, we're bringing it to your attention and to the attention of policymakers. Thank you very much.
Thank you.